Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to do a few tips and tricks for using a grease gun. And the first thing that is a tip that I was shown and told the importance of is make sure that the grease zerk is clean before you go to grease it. And what I've always done is just kept a rag and you can wipe them off. Sometimes it'll take a screwdriver to get in there and clean around these, especially like these inset ones. You've got to unbury that grease zerk before you can grease it. But I ordered some stuff off Amazon the other day and they sent a grease gun cleaner, or a grease zerk cleaner. And this is pretty nifty. Just pop it onto the grease zerk, spin it, and it pulls all that grease out around it so that your gun is ready to go on it. Now you still have to wipe that off before you put it on the next one, or even once it gets dirty, you almost have to clean it out with a screwdriver. So jury's still out on that, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And also clean the tip of your grease gun before you grease a fitting. So I'm going to just grease this excavator up. The next tip is when you're greasing, just grease until you see grease come out, and that's enough. You coming out? Yep, there it is, squirting out right there.
Yep. Okay, good.
All right, so once I see grease coming out of any part of that fitting, it's good. There's some grease coming out. Okay, the next tip and the main focus of this video is changing the grease when you run out. And one of the ways you can see how much you've got, you can lock this T-handle into the plunger, and then that will always show you how much grease is left. So we're getting down there. It's just a half turn. You can feel it lock in. But that's the plunger, so that's how deep that plunger is in that tube. So that would put it pretty close to almost out. I've also been told you should never wait until the grease gun is totally out to change it, just so that you don't end up getting a big airlock in these and have to purge them. I think I can get one or two more. I already cleaned this one. There's grease coming out. Let's go over here to the tractor. When I was messing with this the other day, it didn't look like this one had ever been greased. You almost couldn't even see it. Okay, there's the grease coming out. Let's go to the other side and catch it. Well, there's one right there. Let me clean it real quick. What I want to do is run it out of grease, so you can turn it off for a minute.
Oh, you'll show your little friend who's living under your tractor.
Oh.
There he goes. Little guy.
Okay, so as I get doing this, like I said, I kind of revert to just wiping them off with a rag. All the little tools and stuff are neat, but okay, and these lock and lubes cannot be beat. There's the grease coming out.
Yes.
Yeah, and up here too. Good deal. Where was that other one at? Let's see.
Now.
Okay, so let's wipe that off. Plug it in. And splooge is pretty quick. Okay, so I greased like 4 more spots, and you can see now we're down to very little grease left in that tube. All right, so now that our tube is almost empty, how I change these is I loosen the barrel of the grease gun just a little bit, and that's to let air in as I pull this plunger out. Otherwise, you're fighting a vacuum and have to work a lot harder. So pull the rod out and lock it, then unscrew the tube the rest of the way. And on these DeWalt guns, this little I guess, bushing stays with it. But now what we'll do is just grab the old tube, and you can actually see it is empty, even though it showed just a little bit left in there, and that's to minimize our air bubble that we get. So to change this tube, pull the plastic end off your new tube, drop it in, pull your pop top off, okay, now then we simply screw in the new tube with the barrel. And again, you don't want to tighten that all the way up, because when this plunger goes in, right, we want it to be able to let any air out that was in there. Okay, so since we have our tube is loose, any air that's in the end of this should blow out right here. Okay, and so we got our grease coming out. Go ahead and tighten the barrel the rest of the way. Okay, and we should be able to resume greasing without having gotten an air bubble. If you do get an air bubble and you pull your trigger and nothing happens, there is an air purge valve here. I've never had any luck with that. What I've done is simply loosen this barrel again and pull the trigger until grease starts coming out, and tighten the barrel back up, and you're in business. So let's try it out. And grease coming out right there. Wipe out my finger. Grease starting to come out right there. There's just so many fittings, so little time. There comes the grease. And these tips I picked up because I do have enough equipment now that I spend a lot of time greasing. Okay, so showing how much grease is left in the tube, here's to show you we just changed that. If you turn it to lock it, okay, so we've got a full tube of grease in there. And what that does is that plunger locks into this rod, and that will show you how much grease is in there, because the rod will slide through the grease, but the plunger will not. Okay, so that's the tips and tricks that I've learned for using this grease gun or any grease gun. And like I said, I used to use a grease gun about twice a year, and would go, a tube of grease would last me probably 2 or 3 years. Well, with this equipment now, I'm using a bunch of grease, probably a couple tubes a week. And like I said, I've picked up several of these tips and tricks, and I hope these will help you out. Have a great day and be safe.